This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Frederick just returned from a 14-night sailing. It started in Honolulu. It did the South Pacific and ended in Papeete over in Tahiti. He joins us on the line to chat all about this 14-night extravaganza on Norwegian Sun. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much, Doug, for bringing me back on your show. I really do appreciate it. You're doing such an amazing work on the Cruise Radio.
My pleasure. The feeling's mutual, my friend. I'm excited to talk about this one because it's a 14-night bucket list cruise, pretty much. Honolulu to Tahiti. We'll get some pre-cruise thoughts, though. You live in Sweden. You had to make your way over to Hawaii. What made you want to sail this one? Because normally you sail, well, at least in the past that we've spoken about, the newer NCL ships.
Well, my husband and I have been together for 30 years. And when we got married 22 years ago, we took our first cruise. And that was on the brand new Royal Caribbean Navigator of the Seas. And actually, we sailed more Royal than we have any other line, even though we've sailed probably 12 or 13 different lines. But since then, it's really escalated to the point that we're up on 117 cruises now.
Wow.
So to mark our 30-year anniversary, we thought, where haven't we been? So we looked at the map and we said, this is a really cool itinerary because it started in Honolulu in Hawaii, where we've never been, and it ended in Tahiti, South Pacific, where we've never been either.
I love that you're so much different than a lot of folks who say, okay, well, we're going to go on another cruise, Western or Eastern, what itinerary, where you're like, where haven't we gone? And we're going to go there.
Yeah. And there's so many places you can go. I mean, there's water literally everywhere. So, but we've been to so many cruises in Europe, of course, because it's very easy for us flying from Sweden to the Mediterranean is a 3-hour flight. So getting to Honolulu, that's a completely different thing. The time difference is 12 hours. So it took us just 3 nights to get us back on that time zone. So we did 2 nights in Seattle and then 1 night in Honolulu.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this because it is a long flight. You mentioned, of course, the 12-hour time difference as well, and it's no easy feat getting from Sweden over to Honolulu. Even with that stopover in Seattle, though, do you let the cruise line book your air, or do you prefer to book on points or just find the best deal? How do y'all do it?
Actually, we've never let the cruise line do it because we want to make sure that we get there on our schedule. And usually we do pay by points. I think that's the best way, especially if you want to do business or first class travel. It's easier to do it that way. And we wanted to spend some time before and after the cruise. So we wanted to set that up ourselves.
All right, so you get to Honolulu. What did you do before you boarded Norwegian Sun?
So we stayed 1 night at the big Hilton resort, and you've probably been there. It's like a complete adventure in itself. It just goes on forever. And we were on the 27th or 28th floor on the Rainbow Tower. Nice. It was absolutely beautiful. We had a great balcony. We saw the sunsets. It was a lot of things to do and see in that place as well. So that was like our first day in the Hawaiian Islands.
And it's time to board Norwegian Sun. So you make your way to the cruise terminal. How was the embarkation process getting from the curb to the ship?
It was probably one of the easiest we've ever encountered. It was just a breeze. And this particular sailing, we were just whisked away to a separate area. And then we realized how personal this experience was going to be, being in a suite on a very small ship. Originally, we had booked a balcony room, but since this was very special, I decided we should upgrade it to a suite. But there are only 20 suites on board, so that makes it very personal. So it's different from Haven that we did in March. We also like Haven, but there's a lot more people in Haven, so it doesn't get that super personal to the point where they really know everything about you. And I loved it.
Yeah, with a ship as old as Norwegian Sun, and I say that very kindly, but does that ship actually even have a haven?
It doesn't have a haven, so it doesn't have that communal space or a special roped-off area for breakfast, for lunch, and dinner. But they compensated in a very, very, very good way. Okay. I can tell you that.
So you make your way on board Norwegian Sun. What were your first impressions?
It felt like walking into a time machine because we've done so many new ships lately that this is like when we started 22 years ago, like on the Vision class on Royal Caribbean, where there's a lot of wood, there's a lot of glass, there's really home feeling to it. So it had a quirky layout. So sometimes we were walking thinking like, are we going up and down? And I think that's mainly because the theater is at the back of the ship, and you always look for the theater in the front. So it's like, are we in the front or the back? So that took us like a good 1 or 2 days just to navigate the ship itself. But the ship is really well kept. I mean, Norwegian does a really good job of maintaining the ships. And I think the crew was the breakout star on board the ship.
Does this ship have a half deck on the forward part like Norwegian Sky does?
Yeah, because it has the observation lounge up there, and then you can walk up some steps and you will just do the half deck. That's true.
All right, so let's talk about your stateroom. You mentioned that you were in a suite. What did you think of it for the 14 nights? And I'm curious, the ship is, 24 years old or so at this point. How modern did the stateroom feel?
It felt very modern, in a sense that it's again well kept. They've probably done some renovations a couple of times in the 22 years they're doing it. So it has a nice living room, a nice bedroom. There is the espresso machine. There's really a large bathroom with a tub, a shower. You can do. You can change in there, of course, because that's the closet space as well. I think the coolest part was being on the front of the ship. Is we're right under the bridge, so when the night sets and it gets dark, the entire sky just opens up and it's stargazing. Like every night, we're out on the balcony, pitch black, and just looking up on the sky. It was just absolutely beautiful.
Being all the way forward like that, are there any rules that you can't keep your balcony lights on at nighttime? I mean, I don't know why you would, because you have beautiful views, but like they want you to keep them off at night.
Yeah, no. We made sure to have everything just because we wanted to see the night sky. So no light whatsoever. So we just kept it really dark. So we didn't have any problems with that. And also being a smaller ship and an older ship, it doesn't take you 14 minutes to walk to your stateroom.
Right.
Like on the bigger ships, you almost like have an Uber to get to the front or the back of the ship. This was very convenient. The elevator banks, and actually there are so many elevator banks on this one. It's kind of confusing because there's forward, kind of center, kind of the back. That takes some getting used to.
Let's talk about the dining on Norwegian Sun, the Garden Cafe. So how was it? How was the food quality? And did it ever feel too crowded? Maybe. What did you think of it? And
actually, we just passed it once in the 14 days because being in a suite, one of the best suite perks that were carried over from the Haven concept is breakfast and lunch being served at Cagney's. So they have the same breakfast menu and the same lunch menu they have on regular Haven ships. So there's a small selection for breakfast that you can go and just nibble on, and then you have a menu as well. But being just 20 suites, we rarely have more than like 2, possibly 3 couples having breakfast and lunch. So it was just bliss, just being up there, top deck, watching the beautiful, beautiful scenery pass by and just have breakfast. And also another perk is that we had the captain, the staff captain, and the chief technical engineer having breakfast and lunch with us every single day. So you can ask any question you want because the captain was always there.
Oh, I would love that. That is so cool. Yeah, that's a dream come true right there. With outside of the Lido, then we'll start at one of the main dining rooms, I guess we'll call it. How was the food in there throughout the cruise, and what did you think of it? Because this ship has, what does it have? 2 like main dining rooms?
Yeah, I think you're all creatures of habit to some point. That we started on the one aft, and I can't even remember the name of it, but we started and we just continued. So we had 7 nights in the MDR and also 7 nights specialty dining. So we actually did every other night and we just flipped back and forth. I think the service was excellent. Food was okay. I mean, there's been some recent cutbacks on NCL, so there's a more limited choice, I think, when for just a couple of years ago, it was a little bit more variation, but still very tasty, very warm. And service, again, that was the highlight. They were just so special to us, the entire cruise.
Because you were sailing in a suite, did you get priority like dining, or if you walked up to one of the dining rooms, they said, "Oh, right this way, sir," instead of saying, "It might be 10 minutes or 20 minutes"?
The ship was sailing full, but it never felt full. And especially in the dining room, it was just walk in every single day. Since we didn't go to the buffet at night, I'm not sure if more people tended to be on the buffet at night since there was a lot of ports, people were tired, but we just walked in every single night. We got seated, just no problem whatsoever.
Now, this ship does have a handful of specialty restaurants, so let's touch on some of those. If you want to give us the restaurant, and then you can give us your highlight, and we can go to the next one.
So we did 2 nights in Le Bistro, and I think that's our favorite. That's a French fare restaurant. So you have the sole meunière, which is like the really tasty fish. They have a good fillet there as well. It's the back of the ship, same as Cagney's, where we did 2 nights, which is the classic steakhouse. I think the service at Cagney's was even better because, of course, they recognized us from breakfast and lunch since we had that every single day. So that was really the highlight of the specialty dining. Then we did 1 teppanyaki. It's like, you've been to teppanyaki, it's like the same. Mm-hmm. It's very much the same. So I'm probably not going to do that again. And the Mexican La Cantina, it is more like a kind of casual lunch restaurant setup. So it doesn't feel like the Los Lobos on Primor Viva, which are a little bit more interesting to go to. And then we did Moderno, which is, it's fun. I still like the pineapple. I mean, just give me the pineapple. I'm fine. I can go out of there. That's me.
With Los Lobos Cantina there, and I'm just curious because when I sailed on Norwegian Aqua, they didn't have street corn on the menu, but the other 3 times I've been into Los Lobos across the different ships with NCL, there was street corn. Did you notice if that was on the menu or have they removed that?
I did not see it on the menu. They might have had it on the menu, but I don't think so. Okay. I remember the guacamole. I mean, that's the highlight of that. Absolutely. You can just go there for guac and just go. I think that would be a good suggestion, actually. Yeah. So actually, the only restaurant we didn't go to was La Cucina. I'm not going to bad talk La Cucina, but no, let's not go there.
How about a little like sushi or like the Atrium Cafe? Did you stop into any of those places?
Sushi wasn't so busy. Sushi is located between Cagney's and the teppanyaki place. There were some people at night, but it was almost empty every single day. As far as the Starbucks, it's at the coffee shop. We just stopped for drinks. We didn't have the Starbucks package, and it's a very limited Starbucks menu. So we just ordered drinks, and that was it.
How was the sushi restaurant over the 14 nights?
We managed to have pokés and ahi tuna almost every single day in Hawaii and also in the South Pacific. So I don't think we really had the urge to do frozen sushi when we had the fresh stuff lined up everywhere on the islands.
That's fair. How was the ship as far as crowds and congestion during the 14 nights? Because you said it was a full sailing.
Well, we spent most of the sea days actually on the balcony because we really enjoyed our balcony. I was a little bit worried being on the front of the ship. That's going to be too windy or too difficult to be out there, but it was just blissful with the loungers, the tables, the entire setup is so nice. So getting away from the possible crowds. I mean, there were pool games, there were parties, people were drinking. But again, it's a 14-night cruise, so it's not the 3-night booze cruise. People in general were extremely well behaved, if I should say so. There were very few kids, not so many teenagers. There was, I would say, probably people in their 40s to 60s, that age bracket, which is where we are, I guess. Sea days were fun. The weather was nice. So if you want to be out of the sun, that was a really good opportunity to be out in the sun. And they kept people busy. But still, 5 sea days is a little bit too much for me. I would rather have a couple of islands in between. But unfortunately...
Let's talk entertainment. 14 nights. Did you get any repeats or were all the shows fresh throughout the 2 weeks?
I think that the upside of the small ship, that there's a lot of music venues everywhere. So there could be 4 or 5 different sets of musicians or bands or singers all around the ship. So they really pump up that kind of entertainment. As far as the production shows, they're getting a bit old, I guess. They're not. I wouldn't say they are the freshest and the best, but they do their job. We have the juggler, the magician, the whatever that come on board. But I mean, it's nice to do something in the evening. After you have dinner, you just go to the show. It's also a great place to meet people. So we met a lot of people on board. Again, it's a 14-night cruise. So you talk to people and you find them in the theater. So that was one reason to go.
How was the casino situation as far as smoke in or around or the corridor leading up to it?
It was definitely smoky. We avoided it at all costs. we were actually down in the atrium, like in the day 2 or 3, and I get a whiff of something. It's like, what is that? That smells really, really funky. And then we looked up, see the casino signs, like, yeah, there it is. So there was some smoke coming out of the casino for sure. So it's not non-smoking.
Going this time of year, what kind of weather do you have in the South Pacific?
We had the best weather. I mean, it wasn't so hot. It was like a really, really good summer day. Or as we say in Sweden, an amazing summer day, I guess. So the weather was the same temperature in the water as in the air. So it's around 28 to 30 degrees centigrade, which is, I don't know, could be 90 something,
okay.
I guess.
And
yeah.
How many sea days did you say you had on this one?
We had 5 sea days.
5 sea days.
So it looked like 4 sea days, but actually we had an overnight. Mm-hmm. So we started cruising at like 5 a.m. in the morning. So that was definitely a sea day.
Let's talk about your ports of call, where you start out, Honolulu.
Absolutely. Just going to touch on Honolulu because the first night was actually an overnight to get people in from different flights. So day 2, we actually started in the morning going to Pearl Harbor. And that was a very sombering experience, very educational. Went out to the memorial. I would highly recommend anyone going to Honolulu to pay a visit and pay the respects. Day 2 was Maui, and we did the road to Hana. And that is a fun road. It's 600 twists and turns going to Hana, and had a fellow passenger. And I think she threw up 4 or 5 times on that little bus we had. It was a minibus, but it's a full day tour, and we had so much fun. So it was good, but she didn't feel that well. So if you're prone to motion sickness, maybe Hana is not the best bet.
Hey, where does the ship dock or tender at Maui? Because there was that big fire there in Lahaina last year, and I know that, or maybe it was 2 years ago at this point. But do they dock over on the other side, like by the airport?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and
it's kind of an industrial area, and I think that goes for a lot of the ports. Is that you don't really walk off and just do something because you are going to be in a container port somewhere.
Gotcha.
So definitely do an excursion for that. Then we went to, I'm going to butcher this, Navililili.
Sure.
Where we went to, something like that. We went to Waimea Canyon, and it was a really good adventure tour. Actually, that's where Lilo and Stitch is based, apparently. Mm-hmm. So we went to that little town, so took some pictures of that. Next was Kona, and that's actually the port where you can walk off, and everything is right there. So we went to the Amicus Fish Market, because we had watched Guy Fieri. I have to admit that. Guy Fieri's Hawaiian vacation, and apparently Amicus is the place to go.
All right.
And there was a long line, so there was some other fellow passengers there as well. And last stop in Hawaii is Hilo. And Hilo is also prone to some volcano activities. So we went to some recent lava eruptions. We did the lava caves, the rainbow falls. It was a beautiful place. I really liked Hilo as well. So all the Hawaiian islands were really nice to visit. I think a really highlight on the trip.
Because you are from Sweden, how did the passport situation work out for you? Like, did they take your passport when you board and give it back to you at the end, or could you carry it with you because you were getting on and off the ship and not from the U.S.?
No, we could carry it. And actually, we had a really strange perk because when we arrived into French territory, since we're European members, we didn't actually have to stamp the passport. We had a separate line where they just looked at it and go like, yeah, you can go to France. That's fine.
Okay.
So it's nice to have one perk. That's good.
There you go. So after Hilo, what was up next?
Now the sea days, and then we go to Bora Bora, and of course that is the highlight for many people on this trip. And we went on a lagoon cruise. We swam with sharks. We did an island tour. The island is fairly small. It's mostly luxury resorts and overwater cabanas, but the water is absolutely amazing. We loved our time in Bora Bora. And then it's on to Raitea, where we also did a Rivermoto outrigger canoe ride, which was kind of interesting as well. And there's some swimming. And again, it's all about the water. And it was same thing in Moorea. Also, again, it's very close to Tahiti. You actually can see Tahiti from Moorea. So there's a speedboat. So if you do miss a ship, I think that's the only island where you can say like, yeah, we're fine, because there's a ferry that will take us there in an hour or so. But it has some beautiful mountains. We did some really nice excursion there as well. So. And in all the Hawaiian islands, we actually used an independent. We did Viator, but all of the French Polynesian, we actually went with NCL. And I think has a lot to do with, like, we do not want to be stranded on Bora Bora if the ship leaves.
Sure.
Especially since there are a lot of tender ports and yeah, you don't know what happens. So that's what we did.
Did you do anything as far as currency conversion, like when you got to Bora Bora after the state, or I guess, or the States too, because you're Swedish?
Well, I mean, dollar is a universal thing. I mean, we just bring dollars, and that goes for gratuities. It goes for tipping people. People are gladly to accept dollars. They do not do the euro on these islands. Otherwise, that would be a fairly easy thing for us to do, to bring euros. But they are actually on their own currency that is kind of connected to the dollar and the euro itself. So
okay.
I think you divided something by 10 or multiplied or something, and you end up with the right thing. Yeah. I use credit cards, and that worked too.
Yeah, same here. So what was up next?
So the final port of call is our debark, and that would be in Papeete in Tahiti. So we arrived early, and it was sunny, and it was a beautiful day to leave the ship. And I think that even if cruising is the best thing in the world, after 14 days, and when you see land, it's like, yeah, we've had a great time, but it's also time to go back home.
Sure. When you get off the ship there, you didn't do any post-cruise time in Tahiti?
We stayed one night, again, at the Hilton Resort, which was, I would say, even more beautiful than the one in Honolulu. I would highly recommend it. It's a really nice setting, and have a really beautiful pool there as well. Getting off the ship, the taxi line was a very long line. It moved, but since it was so hot in the morning, it felt like forever, but it was probably just 20 minutes or so. But it took us some time to get a taxi. But once we would get going, it was like 5 minutes and you're at the hotel. And from the hotel to the airport was probably 10 minutes. So I realized that Tahiti is a very small island. We didn't get to see so much of it because we were just in that taxi ride. But we just had some time by the resort itself, which is really nice.
This cruise sounds so amazing, man. I'm so glad you did this. And I think it's now on my bucket list. Once you get off this ship in Tahiti, do you go straight back to Sweden, or do you spend some post-cruise time there like you did pre-cruise in Hawaii?
No, I wanted to do a flight that was in the morning. So because the flight is 8.5 hours to California, and with the time difference, the overnight flight is just exhausting because regardless, we're gonna miss our flight when we connect. So we decided to do a day flight leaving in the morning. Unfortunately, the plane had some technical difficulties, so we were delayed from the tarmac for a while. But once we got going, it was nice to just fly into San Francisco, and then we had a hotel very close to the airport. So we stayed one night, and then we did it again from San Francisco, flying back to Frankfurt, connecting, and then back to Sweden.
When you book the flight, like from Sweden to the Northwest in Seattle over to Hawaii, do you do that with a long stopover, or are those separate legs?
We do them, the Europe to the US, that will be like one leg. And then the US to, then again, from Washington to Hawaii, that's also one leg. So we try to keep them kind of separate because then you can mix and match with airlines a little better, especially on points. And because there's different alliances flying. And that was one thing I didn't talk about, that we flew Hawaiian for the first time. And I think that was just absolutely amazing because you got that Hawaiian feeling just stepping on board the plane, the music, the Mai Tais, everything was just Hawaiian right there. So that was a highlight in itself.
Hawaiian Airlines isn't part of any major airline alliance as of yet, are they?
They are independent now, but since they are also being joined with Alaskan, part of One World, they're going to be One World. We are predominantly Star Alliance originally, but now our national carrier is switched to SkyTeam. So we're going from United to Delta to, we'll see what happens. But it's a numbers game.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Any first-time tips to offer anyone considering a cruise like this, either on Norwegian Sun or doing a 14-night sailing from the Hawaiian Islands down to the South Pacific?
I think just researching the islands itself and deciding what's important for you. If you want to do a lot of snorkeling, scuba diving, if you're interested in culture, there's definitely more to do on the Hawaiian Islands because there's so much different things to do. You can do anything, I guess. It's a little bit more difficult in the French Polynesia because the There's less tour companies. There are no big buses, so they're going to drive you around in a small car or a little minibus. But most of them are going to take the boat and just going to go out to the Motu. And you want to make sure you go to the right places. So just research some of the islands and look at reviews and seeing what's the best thing to do at this specific place according to your taste.
Looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this 14-night sailing?
I think, as always, meeting people from around the world. We met so many amazing people throughout it's all of the 117 cruises we've done. And having a 14-day cruise makes there's more time to connect with people. So you get all those really great conversations and you come home with friends. Mm-hmm. And I'm already in touch with people that we met on this specific cruise as well. And I think that one of the highlights was the amazing crew, because the ship lacks in bells and whistles, it really makes up in the friendly crew. And we had so many great interactions with them.
Do you feel the value was there for the price of this 14-night cruise?
Absolutely. Especially Hawaii is very, very expensive. And I think going on a cruise, it's really taking down that a little bit. I realized that it's more expensive to do Pride of America, which only does the loop for 7 nights. But just thinking at the hotel costs and transportation between the islands, it's going to cost you a lot of money to do that. So in that sense, it's more cost efficient to do this kind of cruise.
Did you get the Wi-Fi by chance?
Wi-Fi is included with our package that we had. I think we had 300 minutes. But we also do eSIMs. So on all the islands, we bought the global package for those. So I think we had 300 minutes each on the More at Sea package, yes. So that's actually 5 hours. That's pretty good. Just for Facebooking and texting, it's gonna be enough.
Yeah, but 300 minutes, how antiquated is that? That's like going back 15 years.
I know. That's why it's less at sea now. They call it More at Sea, but it's actually less at sea. The other part it was better, because then you could have Free at Sea Plus, and then you could have unlimited.
Yeah. All right. Well, wrapping it up here, your final thoughts of Norwegian Sun.
Well, the specific ship is going on a long-term charter, possibly not coming back to NCL. So there's still time to sail it. And I would highly recommend sailing one of the smaller ships as well. Really, really great experience overall. If there is anything that would be on the negative side, if you're interested, is that there is zero immersion on board. And you could not tell this ship the sailing from any other sailings in the Caribbean or the European sailings. The food, the entertainment, everything was the same, which is kind of strange because we're doing overnights. They could have some cultural acts coming on board. That would be inexpensive. They could have like a special meal of the day, anything that is a little bit more geared to where we are. No, nothing at all. It was exactly the same as it is. And I guess if you want that, there's the Paul Gauguin Cruise Line, where they have ambassadors on board, and it's a little bit more cultural immersion. But I thought that was strange. Since they do a Pride of America, they must have the knowledge of how to bring more local stuff on board. I think people would appreciate it just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. And to kind of circle back what you were talking about earlier, you mentioned about some of the food cuts, but we had Ben on a couple of weeks ago reviewing Norwegian Viva, and he mentioned that he could tell there were some entertainment cuts in having, using this group from a theater show in like 5 different venues around the ship. Did you notice any of that on Norwegian Sun?
I didn't notice so much entertainment cuts. I think the food is where it's noticeable the most. But again, we haven't been on the Sun. This is our first time. So maybe it was even more, even better. But we didn't miss anything really. And again, we were there for the experience, the islands, and everything else. So we were quite content.
Fair enough. We've been talking with Fredrik about his 14-night cruise aboard Norwegian Sun from Honolulu down to Tahiti, 14 nights. As always, Fredrik, thank you so much for coming on the show. Great talking to you again, my friend.
Thank you so much. And I promise you next time we're going to be on a different ship on a different line, and I'll get back to you.
The world is constantly changing. Your place for news is still the same. Online and on demand at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy.
Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,